Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Michael Gross, transformational coach, healer, and the author of the Spiritual Primer, and soon to be the next book, The Manifestation Prophecies. And this evening, I wanted to talk to you about your feelings and emotions, because it's really important for you to address your feelings and emotions. You know what they say, thoughts are things. What is your feeling and emotions? If you understand by the law of electromagnetic attraction, whatever you're feeling, whatever you're thinking, whatever your emotions are, you're sending out that energy and exacerbating it. And there are so many people that are living in fear because of the coronavirus, or whatever virus or illness may be created in the future, that it makes you susceptible to that energy. And let's talk about how energy and emotions, your thoughts and feelings, affect your body. And if we look at that, some of the illnesses that have gone on in life, like if you're under a lot of stress, what happens? Well, you can end up with an ulcer, or you can end up with high blood pressure, or heart disease, or problems with, your back or disc or vertebrae. They're all related to your emotions, all right? And it's really important for you to understand that. So if we understand that, take a look at if you have a back problem. 99% of the time when I'm working with somebody, they're either carrying a heavy emotional load or they're worried about money or both. And once they release that, the back problems disappear. If you have arthritis, it means you're a controller. And it means you're afraid to give up control. And all these things, all our thoughts affect our body. And of course, they won't affect our body right away, but over time they do. And, if you're a diabetic, for example, why are you a diabetic? Well, they give you all the physiologial reasons and the medical reasons. But in truth, there's no sweeter happiness in your life. And therefore, your body becomes diabetic. And, I had a very good friend who's diabetic, and he lost a leg. And I was talking to my brother, actually my surrogate brother, and he's got a deep bone infection, and he's diabetic. And just knowing both their lives and what they've gone through, there was no sweetness or joy in their life. It was very traumatic, a certain part of that life. And unless you learned how to let go of that emotion, that experience, eventually it will transmute itself into your body. For what the mind can conceive, the body will believe. And this is so powerful that we have to look at our emotions and our thoughts and feelings and expressions in life. And what are you expressing that's really joyous and happy? Well, people are living in fear, as I said, over the coronaviruses and other illnesses that are going about. And people are housebound, and they're getting antsy, and they're getting upset. And yet, this is such a wonderful opportunity to meditate, to work on healing yourself, to decide how you want to create your life in the future, to decide what makes you happy, to decide what path you want to take, to decide even to choose a spiritual path and find a spiritual teacher that will assist you in helping you achieve this. It's really important. I was reading an article about in New York City, and a lot of people live in New York City. They think the sun rises and sets in New York City. I worked in New York City, and it's a fascinating place and a lot of different energies. But what they're finding is what I read when they were moving the city, because one house is on top of another. We used to call them tenements, or something like tenants. And I'm mispronouncing the word because I'm floating. But anyway, they were one on top of the other, separated by huge brick walls. And then they have, plaster of Paris over that so you didn't see it. But they're realizing when they move out to the country, they can breathe, they can hear better, the life is simpler, there's less stress. Now, I will admit there are many people who live in large cities that think that's the only way they should live because it's more exciting. But once you find out when you have a simpler life, you can spend more time on yourself. Spending more time on yourself means, what do I need to do that heals me, that makes me happier, and that I do not need any outside influence to make me feel better? In other words, you got to go to parties, you got to have friends, you can't be alone, you have to have a car, fancy car, whatever, you got to go out to restaurants and all that stuff. What is it within you that can make you happy? See, all those other things that I just mentioned are just nothing but Band-Aids to make you feel better, but it's like an addiction. Because once you have that Band-Aid, I got to do something else, got to do something else, got to make it better and better and better, and got to do it. And after a while, you run into a brick wall because you've done most everything you can afford to do, and you still have that same energy, being lonely, feeling abandoned, and unhappy. So there is great wisdom in being alone, and you need to realize that this is a gift where you can spend time alone or be with your family and get to really know your family. Because eons ago, on a Sunday, you used to go to grandmothers or moms and dads for dinner. That was the ritual. All the kids got together and relatives, and they had a good time. And everybody had a chance to catch up with what one another is doing. And they all tried to help each other as best they could. And we've lost that human contact because we, in our emotions and thoughts, think we have to have exterior things to make us feel better. In truth, the only one that can make us feel better is ourselves, and accepting who you are. And you know you were created out of love, by love, and with love, and from love. So you are perfect, ever growing more perfect, except we let the ads on radio and TV and magazines say you have to look this way, that way, et cetera, have to have this kind of body, dress this way, and so on and so forth. But there is such a thing within your emotions as love, and love is part of your inner beauty. It is part of the gracefulness within you. It is part of who you are. And who are you? You're a loving, caring being that came here to experience everything on this planet. Experience the wind, the rain, food, clothing, vehicles, watching scenery, planting flowers, watching the flowers. Whatever it is, you came here to experience all of that. And yet somehow many of our human beings have fallen off track. And now they're going into other types of energy and vibrations that they're looking for recognition from others. That's an important thing. Look at your emotions. If you don't feel that you're loved, you don't feel self-worth and self-esteem, then your emotions are going to look for it everywhere else. You're going to have to constantly be stroked. And if someone says something negative about you, boy, you go into the deepest depression and anger. And as I said one time before, I hadn't seen this woman in a long time. She got a new hairdo, and I said, wow, your hair looks great. What do you mean by that? Remember that story? And she jumped down my throat. My good friend said, hey, Michael knows you. He's just complimenting you. He's not trying to flirt with you or pick you up. He's giving you a compliment. But you see, this one person who had some experience is bitter and angry, and no matter what you say or do, they will always find something to criticize you. But what they're really doing is criticizing themselves, and they're cheating themselves and denying themselves of having love and joy. So my message is really, at this point, focus on whatever is going on in your life with your emotions and your thoughts as being a positive experience. Remember what I said, that, true source vicariously is living through us, experiencing through us. So whatever our soul goes through goes to the oversoul. The oversoul, which is attached to the true source says, oh, wow, that's really great. Now I'm being literal here, but it's like, oh, Michael screwed up. Wow, he learned a new lesson. True source goes, I am so proud of him. He learned something powerful. Wow, look at the way he chose to learn it. That's love. That's positivity. Because the true source is nothing but pure, unconditional love. And that's your essence. And that's what we all need to turn to, becoming very loving and very positive. Not to be a doormat. Not to be a doormat, not to be an enabler, but be for loving and caring. And that is what's so important, because as you express the love and caring, remember you're an antenna, and you're sending out that energy to everyone else who will pick it up sooner or later. And as everybody becomes more loving and caring, they become more kinder. And they will assist you out of love, not out of need, not out of guilt, but because they're a loving, caring person. But they will also back off to let you experience whatever you need to experience to shift your gears and your thinking and your emotions become more loving. You know, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. And the other cliche is, if you teach a person how to fish, they fish every day. If you give them a fish, they eat for a day. So if you understand that, if you give them a fish, they eat for a day, teach them how to fish, they'll eat every day. Part of a loving, caring way about you is to express some thoughts in a caring way for them to embrace it. And if they refuse to do it, don't be angry. Love them for having taken that difficult path if they have such low self-worth, self-love, and self-esteem. Be compassionate, send them love, but understand that is their path in life. So remember, your thoughts and emotions affect your body and affects this planet. And as you think about joyous and happy and loving things, you become that way. Others will feel that energy and become that way as well. So everyone, have a great week. Please spread the word, and I look forward to speaking with all of you in the weeks to come. I love you all. I truly love your souls. I love everything you're going through. I see your trials, your tribulations, and your pain, but I also see the beautiful blue light of the true source at the end of the tunnel for you.